not to follow the law. What other excuse are they going to come up with for them not following the law? Seriously. So we have, there was a judge's order. The judge's order was pretty clear that, you don't get to decide for yourself what constitutes, legal authority. It's been pretty clear, what that legal authority is, and it is not by decree or by, policy. They argued, well, it's a policy. Our policy is kind of, Loretta Lynch is, she was, one of the reasons why she should not have been confirmed is when she said that she would follow President Obama's policy and not the law when it came to dealing with amnesty for illegals. Well, no, policy is not law. Policy is not even near the level of the law. The law is the law. So you've got to go ahead and follow the law, not policy. When policy conflicts with law, you follow the law. And it sets a dangerous precedent when you say and decide that you're going to follow policy instead of the law. Now you've elevated policy to a level higher than the law or superior to the law. So the policy is that, according to Loretta Lynch, we're not going to, my office and department is not going to enforce any law that goes against President Obama's amnesty proposal or policy. Well, that's illegal because his policy is not law. Law has a specific way of becoming a law. Most, we should bring these back. They did come back briefly, I do believe. Schoolhouse Rock. Anybody out there under the sound of my voice remember Bill? I'm just a Bill sitting here on Capitol Hill. And kids learned how, the basics of how we get a law. Somebody in the House or the Senate has to write the law, and then the House and the Senate has to pass the law, or excuse me, they have to write the bill for the law, and then the Senate and the House of Representatives they each have to pass the bill, saying that they want it to become law, and then the president has to sign it into law, and if the president vetoes it or says no, he doesn't want it to be a law, then it goes back to the Senate and the House, and they can override the president's veto with a 2/3 positive vote in favor of the bill to become law. And in any case, if one of those two things happens, the president signs it or the House and the Senate override the veto, it becomes a law. And nowhere in there, and that's all per the Constitution, and nowhere in there is there anything about about presidential policy. You see, we're a nation governed by laws, not governed by men. And when you start talking about, well, policy is the equivalent or superior to law, well, now you're talking about a nation governed by men, not by law. And that is clearly not the Constitution. It is clearly not what the Founding Fathers intended. I don't care how you view it. There is no possible way that you can tell me with a straight face that the Founding Fathers intended for the president to have this sort of super constitutional authority and power. They did not. In fact, one of the reasons that we have a presidency that is a co-equal to the other two branches of government is simply because when they offered a kingdom or kingship to the person they wanted to be king, he said, well, we're not a nation of we should not be a nation ruled by men. We've seen that doesn't work. We need to be a nation ruled by law. And indeed, that eventually, even in England and Britain, they became a nation ruled by law because, they forced the king and the queens to abdicate more and more and more power and authority until they're just a simple figurehead. So even a kingdom such as Great Britain is actually a nation governed and ruled by law, not by men or women. So it's very clear what the Founding Fathers wanted here. They didn't want a king or a queen. They didn't want an emperor. They didn't want a potentate. They didn't want a Caesar. They wanted a president, duly elected by the general populace that was legal to vote in this country. That's it. So in order to get to that, you have to be a nation that is governed and ruled by law, so that no matter who the ruler or president is, should not be a ruler, but Obama thinks of himself as a ruler. Whoever the president is, the law doesn't change, and it cannot change on a whim. Policies can change. How they go about doing certain things and approaching certain things, especially on foreign affairs, that can change from president to president because that's not set in the law. But a policy, as far as what laws you're going to follow and what laws you're going to ignore, no, that is not legal. Not legal. You don't get to choose which laws that you're going to uphold. That's not the constitutional way. And I don't care how you slice it and dice it, you can't tell me otherwise. It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. Well, remember the O.J. Simpson trial, murder trial. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. Well, this doesn't fit. Policy superseding law. And, this is what the DHS and Johnson was trying to do. He was trying to supersede law by adhering to President Obama's policies on illegals. But that's not the law. The law dictated that Mr. Johnson, Secretary Johnson, do his constitutional duty and handle within the legal limits of the law all the illegal immigrants that they come across. And when a judge decided, you know what? Obama cannot, by fiat, just decide to change the law through an executive order. So, Department of Homeland Security, you have to follow the law and you have to forgo and forget about Obama's policy. And yet the Department of Homeland Security decided, well, we're going to just follow the president anyway. And then when they get caught, they're going to say, oh, my word, there was a glitch in the program, the computer program, that we didn't recognize at first that kept us from doing our job that we're supposed to do legally. And, we were just going by things. Now, I'm sorry, you have a federal judge that tells you that you can't do it, and yet you still do it anyway, and then you're going to blame a computer glitch for the reason why you still do it when you shouldn't have done it in the first place. I mean, they're looking for an excuse because they got caught. And the funny thing is that this administration, people in this administration get caught all the time. But unfortunately, none of it seems to be sticking to Obama. I know we got people, patriot after patriot and supposed patriot after supposed patriot. A bunch of people from all different walks of life, socio-economic walks of life, and even ethnic backgrounds walk of life, have been calling for the impeachment, ouster, and removal of this president as president. So this isn't about a singular event. This is not a singularity event. This has happened before with Obama. Obama always trying to, outsmart, outthink, whatever. All the people that are trying to keep him in check. Well, let's face it, he's not that smart. But, you can say what you want, but Obama really isn't all that smart. And the point is that this man needs to be put in check. And we don't have those in power on the Republican side who are in the leadership who seem to be willing to do that. And this is a glaring example what do you do with the Department of Homeland Security secretary when he says, oh, well, it was just a glitch that we weren't keeping the judge's orders? Well, you know what you're doing. You know that, in order to not follow the judge's order, you have to be following Obama's policy. And you know that the judge said, no, you can't do that. So, whether you have it in your computer or not, you got to know that you're doing something that you're not supposed to be doing. So I'm sorry if, but the American people seem to buy, well, I don't know if they actually buy it. The lamestream media seems to think that we should buy this kind of malarkey. This kind of BS. Absolutely amazing. It all stems from arrogance, folks. The arrogance that they think that they have the right to rule over you, not to govern, to rule over you. Just like Hillary. Hillary now is running around and she's, not answering questions of reporters because she thinks that she's a ruler and not looking for permission from the electorate to govern them. No, she thinks that she can do. She's taking a cue from Obama because, he thinks that his crap don't stink and he can do whatever he damn well pleases. Because I'm the president. Buck stops here. I'll take responsibility. And then when something goes wrong, he's the first person that says, well, it wasn't my fault. I didn't do that. Think about it. This guy is constantly saying that he's the president and that he's ultimately responsible. But whenever the responsibility starts to fall on his shoulders, he's like, oh, hold on, not my fault. And he comes up with an excuse. Somebody once said, if you'll use any excuse, then you'll use any excuse. Plain and simple. It's as, plain as lighted day and night, light and night and day, that type of thing. We're supposed to be a nation governed by law, not ruled, governed. We're not a nation ruled by men. We're a nation governed. I don't know how many times I have to say this because law, being governed by law means that it's all internal now. When you want to be ruled by somebody, such as a king or a Caesar or a potentate or a dictator or what have you, this is an external factor that comes into your private world and private life and screws everything up. Hello, Obamacare. A lot of people thought, well, we don't want Obamacare, but, he says this is going to be the new thing, the new wave. That everybody else around the planet's got this thing, so maybe we should. And then they get, because it's an external thing, and then they get it, and they realize, well, Jesus, this is clashing and destroying their internal belief of what healthcare should be, and then they throw their arms up. Because there's nothing they can do, they think, because now they're not being governed, they're being ruled. That's a sad thing. Hey, folks, we're out of time for today. We will be back here tomorrow. Same bat time. Same that channel. I'm Rod Eccles. This has been the Rod Eccles Show. I'm out.